Washington Nationals are world champions for the first time in franchise history.
The World Series Game 7 winning Curly W is in the books. The Washington Nationals are the world champions. Here we go.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District. I'm Nathan, and that's the Stoner. And 2019 feels like a decade ago. In 2019, the Washington Nationals were the last team standing. And in 2022, they're the first team eliminated. The worst team in baseball, Stoner, our beloved Nationals. If you just had one sentence to describe this season, what would it be?
I'll just say this. It's worth it. When you had the 2019, it's worth it to go what we're going through now. That's all I'm going to say about it.
That's fair. This season really felt like the first year of the rebuild, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you win it all in 2019. You don't really get the victory parade because of a shortened season the next year.
Yep.
You're still kind of clinging on to a lot of these heavy contracts. You trade last season, you trade away two beloved players. This season, you get rid of a generational talent. It feels now like we're really into that rebuild, and that is a little depressing. But maybe, just maybe, there's blue skies ahead.
Well, let's hope so. It better be worth it. Mike Rizzo has stated over and over again that this is not a rebuild, but a reset. And so he better be right, because he's staking his entire reputation. Even though he's won a World Series, he's staking basically the rest of his reputation on this entire reset, as he calls it.
Well, whether or not it's a rebuild or reset, this year just wasn't it. More than 100 losses. Like I said, the worst team in baseball. We're going to probably get into the future in a little bit, but we do want to do a full-on Washington Nationals season review. But we're not just the two of us, Stoner. We have a special guest with us today. Welcome to the channel, a Mr. Ryan Clary from Locked On Nationals, also co-host of Bit Season, and he's also the producer for the Dan and Granny Show. Thank you, Ryan, for joining us here on Ref the District. A lot of accolades there, a lot of jobs that you got going on. How busy are you?
So I just started Locked On Nationals this past Friday.
Oh,
and so that's when I officially uploaded my first episode. And so with that, I had Bit Season on Thursday, and then I have the Grant and Danny Show, which is Monday through Friday. So it's been busy, but honestly, it's been fun. It's a lot of work, but I get to. I think I'm starting to get into the groove of it. So
how big of a fan? How big of a fan were you of the Nationals before you became kind of this, the locked on guy? Did you grow up a fan, or were you from this area and all that?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Annandale, Virginia, which is in Fairfax County. I don't know if you guys are Northern Virginia guys or D.C., Maryland.
Maryland, both.
We're both Maryland guys, yep.
Okay. Yeah. So I just grew up in this area. It's only 20 minutes away from D.C. I'm really only 25 minutes from Nationals Park. And so I've grown up just going to games my entire life. I was there for opening day at RFK. I was there for opening day in 2008 of Nationals Park when Ryan Zimmerman hit that walk-off on national TV. It was at that point, it was the best moment as a fan. So I've grown up with this team, unlike a lot of people in this area who grew up with the Orioles. So yes, to answer that question, I'm a diehard, unfortunately now.
Well, Stoner said it was the 2019 season makes this all worth it. This season, more than 100 losses. What do you make of this year? Like Stoner says, it was worth it. I said that this is a rebuilding year. Obviously, there's the talk of it being reset. What do you make of this kind of lost season for the Nationals?
Well, a wise man once said, I don't know who said this, but you got to walk before you can run. And so with that being said, we went through from 2005 up until 2011, 2012. We were terrible. We all remember those years to where we had no good players besides Ryan Zimmerman and a couple shortstops from Alfonso Soriano when he was here for a year. Name them. They weren't here for too long. We didn't have those talented guys that we have right now.
Yeah.
And so looking at it for this year, this is just the beginning of what's going to be a longer road ahead to get us to that next championship level team. Yeah. And so I think this is a necessary kind of tanking season to where, and I think it's not just going to be one season. I think it's going to be 2 to 3 seasons really when it's all said and done. And so I think it's just a necessary step into making the next championship team.
Yeah. Well, let me preface this next question here with my sort of bias of this question, right? So I was 1 billion% against the Juan Soto trade. Okay. Yeah. You can look at it in Los Angeles with the Angels who have Ohtani, right? And they have all these other contracts. He only has 1 season left after this season under contract. They signed him to a $30 million arbitration deal, right? They know they're probably not going to win with him, and they know that they can't afford him after next season. But they signed him anyway. They didn't trade him away. So that's what my feeling is as a fan. But what was your feeling prior to the Juan Soto trade? And then what is your feeling now with all of those tremendous prospects that are in the system now?
Well, so if you were to ask me prior to the trade, like it just really depends on the time. Or if you were to ask me maybe in May of 2022, just a couple months ago, and you were asked, how would you feel about trading Soto? I would have said no. He's 22 years old. He's one of the best hitters in baseball. He's got one of the brightest futures in the game. So no, why trade him? You have Ted Williams on your roster. You should keep him. But then once you start hearing the rumors of the money he's turning down, and we know this, guys, as Nationals fans, as people who just follow the team, if you have the agent, Scott Boras, you're not going to get a long-term deal done unless you blow it out of the water, which would have been probably over $500 million. That's what it would have taken for him to accept the deal here at this point. And so once the trade set in, once it happened, they pulled the Band-Aid off, and I saw what we got back. I was like, I was blown away because at first I was thinking like, maybe we could fix in James Wood. Maybe we can get James Wood in this deal. Not only did we get James Wood, we got one of their better 18-year-old prospects from the Dominican Republic with Yarlin Susana, who could be the best player out of this whole deal, and he's considered the worst player. So the haul that we got is what made it worth it. Now, if we got anything less, I would have been like, okay, something's got to happen to where you have to have 3 stars in this trade, in my opinion, to make it worth it. Or not stars, but someone to help on the next championship team in the next postseason run that we had like in the 2010s.
I was about to say, because they didn't get any stars. They got a lot of prospects, top prospects, but no one really helping out this season. But kind of was the goal, right? Was this season you didn't need anybody. Your season was lost already by the time the trade deadline hit. But there have been some young players that are on this team that, maybe do show some promise. Any of those young players for you stand out, Ryan, that maybe will be here for that championship, but also can help in the near future?
I think CJ Abrams right off the bat, one of the top guys we got from the Padres. I've loved what I've seen from him in September. I think in September he batted .305 compared to when he first got here in August. I think it was August 13th is when he got called up. He was batting, I think, like .211 in the majors combined with the Padres and here. But then once September came along, he was making all these web gem plays. You were seeing him on SportsCenter top 10. He was getting play of the week. So I think someone like him, he's kind of the low-hanging fruit answer because he's the biggest name out of them all as of right now who's on the team. But then also to look at another guy, I'm still incredibly high on Keibert Ruiz. I think I see the hit tool with him. And I think the power is going to come eventually once he adjusts to the game. And obviously he's out for the year right now with, I don't even know if he has a testicle injury right now from.
Yeah.
So that's a tough break, and obviously wish him well. But behind the plate, he's immaculate. I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it, but I don't know if I mean it. I'm going to say that he's Yachty with a better bat.
Wow. Now you're
Wow.
That's a little blasphemous, but we'll let.
It's
Hey,
blasphemous.
I mean,
this
he,
is a
he
national
also
podcast.
he also
He's gonna be a
called
Hall of
Soto
Famer.
Ted Williams. So I mean, like we're sitting pretty good here, and who Washington's had walk through their halls this season.
You can
I
get
know.
away with it because this is a Nats show, but
Exactly.
anybody else might be a little. Oh, I don't know.
No, so I'm not saying that he's going to be Yachty, but
Yeah,
the player comparisons, like he's great behind the plate.
sure.
And I truly think that his bat could be better than Yachty's all said and done. I think Keybear is a really special player to keep an eye on. And that's what they think of him too. And Rizzo will tell you that straight up.
There
But
you go. There's some hope.
There's
Yeah.
hope.
Somebody's got to come out of that trade for Trey Turner and Scherzer, right? It can't be just we got a couple of guys who are okay. Somebody better produce as a star. But that trade, going back to the Juan Soto trade, and Joey Meneses was not part of that trade, right? But he benefited from the trade. He became the right fielder when Sosa was gone, and he's taken full advantage of that opportunity. I mean, the numbers absolutely trounce what Soto has done in San Diego since the trade. I mean, it's night and day between the two of them, right?
Of course.
But Meneses is 32, I believe, right?
He's in his
30.
30s,
I believe
yeah.
he's
He was
30.
30.
Oh, he's only 30?
Yep.
Okay, that's not as bad. So is he a part of this reset? Is he going to be a guy next year that they're going to count on to help with these younger players? Or is he just going to be like, we're going to have him for a year or two and then he's gone?
So the thing with Meneses is that like he's 30 years old. And also back to the reset versus retool thing, like I think we're in a full-on rebuild, and Rizzo can say what he wants, but I mean, we're in a rebuild. We got a lot of guys who are a couple years away from now. So we would have to have some guys come up and produce to where we're not really expecting them to do that in the minor leagues at this point. But to answer your question though, like I think his name is in pen right now in the lineup for opening day in 2023. I mean, I just, unless we have new ownership who comes in, or maybe the learners just spend money to try to get a corner outfielder in here. But as of right now, I would say, how do you not have him in the lineup, or at least at DH? Like, we have a DH now, so
sure,
maybe he's got to be in the lineup. In my opinion, I mean, he's just been too good. I know he's only 30 years old, but how can you say that he's not going to be in the opening day lineup when he's done this well? And it's not even the fact that it's his batting average. He's hitting for power. He's getting all. I mean, he's doing it all right now.
Yeah,
he's definitely one of the feel-good stories of this season that didn't quite go how fans would have liked it to see. I don't think anyone predicted another World Series run, but worst team in baseball, I don't think is where most fans had their eyes set on there. Now, one of those things that is not a feel-good story, and one of those reasons that Washington is at the bottom of the league, is Patrick Corbin. What in the world has gone on with him, and where do we see his future, going? Is it with the Nationals, or are we going to be able to jettison that horrible contract of his?
Well, so it's actually funny you say that. Today, actually, when Rizzo was meeting with the media, just kind of in New York as a quick little postseason presser, I guess that's what they'll call it. I don't know who asked the question, but someone asked if Patrick Corbin will be in the rotation in 2023, and he said yes. So I don't know if that's just him blowing smoke up, but like I'm gonna take him for his word, and I guess Patrick Corbin's gonna be in the pitching rotation starting in 2023. If it was up to me, I would try to come up with a buyout for him, like be like, hey man, like this isn't working out. You know it, we know it. But that's not going to happen. He's going to want the money. Why wouldn't he? He deserves it. I don't know where to go with him. If it was me, he'd play the role of what Paolo Espino's kind of been doing the last 2 years, to where he's either pitching, he's either starting to where it's not really the best situation to start when you need someone to take extra rest, or he's just coming out for a long reliever situation, get a couple innings, or at least just keep it not a blowout. at this point.
Well, starting him in 2023 is a recipe for rebuilding on that 2-year plan there. It's absolutely.
Yeah. So exactly. It's like, I mean, how can you bring out Patrick Corbin when he has one of the worst ERAs in baseball? I mean, statistically, he is a bottom 3 pitcher in baseball, and it's not even close. So
yeah, he's not starting tomorrow, right? Or he can get a chance to get his 20th loss. He's not.
No, thank God.
Thank God.
He pitched Sunday. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, I missed that.
Thank you.
Hey, I was gonna ask Nathan real quick. You ever heard this name before, Nathan? Erasmo Ramirez. He is the Nationals pitcher of the year this year. Okay. I mean, I've seen him pitch, but if somebody walked up to me and said, "Hey, do you know Erasmo Ramirez?" I wouldn't correlate that he's a Nationals pitcher, let alone their best pitcher of the entire year. But I just want to kind of throw that out there.
I've been to a handful of games this year, and I don't think I saw him pitch once.
I know, right? It's crazy. But I wanted to kind of get back to just real quick about the ownership situation, which we know right now is getting closer, obviously, to a resolution of selling the team. The rumors, at least what I'm seeing, seem to be leaning towards Leonsis being the guy, or at least he's in the top 3, let's just say. Are you in favor of a one guy owning 3 different professional franchises in the same city? Or would you rather have just some guy who comes in that you've never heard of that's just going to plop down, a $210 million payroll for the next couple of years?
Well, here's the thing with Leonsis, and I think since we're in DC with Dan Snyder and as of recently the Lerner family, people are starting to forget that Ted Leonsis is not a good owner. And he hasn't been a good owner for the Capitals and for the Wizards. He has Alex Ovechkin for the Capitals. I'm not the biggest hockey fan in the world, but if you have a top 5 player of all time, I better hope you win 1 championship,
Yeah.
So I'm not going to get lost too deep into that, but I want to see someone new. I want to see someone fresh who I maybe don't know. But really, I'm just telling people right now, especially in baseball, I'm not saying you can just buy wins at this point. Like, you look at the Dodgers and the Yankees, and Mets, you can say, yeah, they do buy wins. But also, like, we just need to spend more money at this point. We know we have it, and we know we can tap into that with a bigger market here in DC. But I don't want to see Ted Leonsis owning 30 teams because I already know what it's like with him. It's just mediocrity. That's just what it screams. And it's just, we don't rebuild with the Wizards. And obviously, who knows what it would be like for baseball? Like, would he spend more money then? Would he spend less? Would he play the money ball approach? Who knows? No one knows. But I've seen enough with him to where it's like, yeah, I'm good. So I'd rather have someone come in fresh and new, be able to spend money and, get this rebuild started the right way.
So, I'm with you on that one, Ryan. Interesting of note, though, no salary cap in baseball. So, unleashing him that way would be interesting to see if he is a penny pincher or if he's willing to drop on a $500+ million on a generational talent. Just throwing that out there, going to hit free agency in a couple of years. You mentioned the kind of exit interview that Dave Martinez did up in New York there. Rizzo, sorry. Yeah. Rizzo did it. So, all right. So it wasn't his, but Davey mentioned his entire staff is coming back next year. How do you feel about that?
I can tell you right now, I have my episode coming out tomorrow morning and I'm going to be hitting that. And I can tell you here right now that it's terrible, in my opinion. I think this is a staff that when you have Josiah Gray, you have all these young guys who are coming up into the system, you want to see them develop at the major leagues. The minor leagues are for development. That's the whole point of it. But it's not just once they get to the majors, they're not ready to go and to do their thing. Like, look at Aaron Judge and Mike Trout when they were rookies. They were awful, but they developed. And what developed them was the coaching staff on the major league roster. And so I think the fact that you look at Josiah Gray and what he's done this year, he hasn't really taken the step up that we were hoping for with him, or just CJ Abrams, he's starting to develop a little bit, but then again, it's only a month and a half with him. So I've seen it enough with this team and Davey Martinez, like Victor Robles, for example. He's regressed. And is that all on them? No. But when you're a coach like that, you're going to fall on the sword. That's your job. That's part of the name. It's in your contract. So I got to see a little better development out of them. And it's something concerning, in my opinion, because I think Jim Hickey in particular, the pitching coach for the Nationals, is kind of a dinosaur at this point with the game. So it's tough to relate to him. So
okay. Well, my last question for you, Ryan, has to do with maybe a forgotten name within this Nationals organization, and maybe it's because we've seen enough and it's over. But he was injured all year. But that's Carter Kieboom. Is Carter Kieboom, in your opinion, not what Rizzo says or what the organization says, in your opinion, is he going to be a part of this team, a successful part of this team in the future? Or is it over? Because you say, and then I'll say.
So, I'm not going to hang on the fence here. I'm going to say it's over for Carter Kieboom. Yeah. He's had 3 years when the whole plan for him was like, okay, we let Anthony Rendon walk. We have Carter Kieboom, who was a high prospect. Like, he was a first-round pick. He was young. I think he was 22 coming up in 2020 after Rendon left there. So, I mean, this was a guy who's had his opportunities. He had 2021 last year. And then, obviously, of course, he had Tommy John surgery this year. So he didn't have that opportunity. But, he had 2 seasons, man. Like, he had a full 2021, 2020. He had the opportunity to in a COVID-shortened year. So, I don't want to say the door is completely shut on him, because there is like a tiny hole open there to where he could come and make a difference. But I'm not seeing that at this point, Yeah. It's tough to see it. He hasn't hit. Fielding's been atrocious. So I got to see it to believe it, man. I'm that kind of
I know Stoner full on agrees with you on
He's
that
done.
front. Yeah. Now, it's interesting to go from those questions back to back there, because you talked about the lack of development and an aging, managing staff, to a guy who was a top prospect, one of the best, like I said, a first round pick there, and he just didn't develop. You mentioned Robles, but I mean, you can obviously say Carter is one of those as well that just isn't panning out. And it could be, the staff that we have on here that Davey said he's going to bring back next year. So I think that's pretty interesting to have those questions back to back like that. For the final question here, you brought up Baltimore. Baltimore kind of turned things around. The Orioles turned things around, I think, a little bit faster than what some people would have expected. And they're kind of a fun team to watch. They're the young team. They were eliminated from playoff contention this year, or the postseason contention. But again, better than some people expected. Can the Nationals kind of duplicate that effort? Are they really, is this the start of 5 seasons of muck that, like you mentioned, we had from 2008 to kind of 2011 there?
So I mean, really, when you look at the Orioles, it had a long rebuild for them. I mean, they sucked for a long time to get those top picks, but then also they were smart about it. They spent less on guys in the upper half of the first round, and then started to put more money into lottery tickets later in rounds, and some of those have hit out, and they've hit out of the park, really, with Gunnar Henderson being one of the recent ones. He was a second-round pick, and they dumped money into him, and he's been great. He's in the majors now. But to answer your question, like I said earlier, I don't see us being any better even in 2024 at this point. We still got Robert Hassel, who could be coming up maybe late next year. But even then, he's still young. I think he's only 21 at this point, maybe just turned 22.
Yeah.
So he's someone that, we're not in a rush, because do we really have the pieces unless we start spending money? Like, I'm going to operate as the fact that we have the learners as our owners right now, and they aren't spending the money to build around these younger guys. Yeah. So, where we spent money on Jason Worth back in 2011 and name that player to put it around the younger core that we had. And so I just don't see that happening at this point. And so I think we're going to be here for the long run for kind of bad seasons.
Yeah. Well, how about in 2024 if your starting rotation is Cade Cavalli, Jackson Rutledge, Josiah Gray, and that's it. That's all I got for Mackenzie Gore. Sorry, Mackenzie Gore.
Mackenzie Gore. I like Mackenzie Gore a lot. So
I mean that's in 4 years or not 4 in 2 years, those 4 starters could be, the start of your turnaround. But you're right. It's gonna be a couple years.
It could be too. And it's like, I would love to be wrong. I'm a fan also of this team.
Yeah.
And so, but just knowing baseball and just knowing how everything works, it never works out, not everything works out. And it's like, well, he was a top 10 pick. Yeah. Like it sucks. But like, if you look at past drafts and stuff, like you'll find more busts than superstars in the top 10.
Yeah.
By far.
You mentioned the lottery there. That's exactly what the draft ends up being. Top prospects fail and some later round picks can hit. It is what it is. That kind of is a negative look though. So I don't want to end on that kind of note. So give us 3 reasons to watch Nationals baseball next season.
Well, someone who I just mentioned, I'll go first off, Mackenzie Gore. If you look at his stats from really the beginning of this year, he was on the roster on opening day for them up until I think it was mid-June. He was lights out. I think he had around a 2.5 ERA. He had 87 strikeouts and 55 innings pitched. That is absurd. And he was a 22-year-old doing this at that point. So I think he's going to return to form, and I think he's going to be our best pitcher walking into 2023, really. Number 2, I'm going to go with Keibert Ruiz, another guy I hit on earlier this show, that I'm just really high on him. I think it's really important to have someone back there, especially with the young pitching staff who you can trust. He acts like a vet back there. The guys love him. And so that's really important into what we want to do moving forward, especially with developing pitching. It starts with the catcher, they're calling the games back there. And so the number 3, I'm going to end off on, I'm going to go Cade Cavalli here as well. I'm really high on Cade Cavalli. He's kind of like, the modern day, when you look at here, I'm going to kind of cross sports here. When you look at the NFL, you want the tall 6'5" guy who can also run and throw an 80-yard deep ball. Cade Cavalli is kind of like that guy now in the modern day age where he can throw 100 miles per hour, and then he can also take you down with the 90-mile-per-hour changeup. And he's kind of got that swagger to him. He's just kind of a fun guy, and he's a polarizing guy to watch. So I think those are 3 real reasons to be excited for it. And especially, of course, C.J. Abrams, too. I think C.J. Abrams has a really bright future no matter what. So, but those
got a bonus one in that one. There we go.
I did.
Hey, I'm ready to go now. I'm ready
for the next season.
When the pitchers and catchers report. Let's go.
I'm ready. 2026 World Series champs.
There we go. Hey. Would love nothing more than that. And again, as Stoner said, to start the show, it would be worth it. Ryan, thanks for joining us here on Ref the Districts, our Washington Nationals season review. You can catch Ryan on Locked On Nationals. And he's also the producer of the Grant and Danny show. And you can also catch him on the Bit Season podcast. So thanks, Ryan, for joining us here on Ref the District.
Appreciate you, Ryan.
Thank you guys so much, man. This was a ton of fun. So hopefully we can do it again.
Absolutely. And until next time.
Yes, sir. What's that?
Be a fan.
What's up, guys? Thanks for watching. Trevor here, 1/3 of Ref the District. Be sure to like and subscribe this channel for us, please. We greatly appreciate it. And after that, take a look at some of this extra stuff we got on our channel, too. You don't want to miss it. And always, be a fan.